Welcome, Adriana. Welcome, Sonia. Welcome, Diana's note taker. Very wise, putting your notes in here. Amazing. We're going to have some more folks entering the space, proving this meeting is being recorded. I'm really excited to start a new container. And me just saying that is so beautiful because containment is masculine. And we're going to talk about this today. Containment is masculine. The containers that you create are masculine in nature. And we're going to dive into some really common misconceptions around feminine and masculine today. And I'm just going to blow your mind today, really wide open to the possibility of being able to create sales in the exact way that you want to be creating sales. I'm also really excited because as we were on a quote unquote break, so I took a couple of weeks off when I was in the States visiting family, and we have been holding group calls without a structure. So people have been coming in, asking questions, and some lucky folks, because when I'm on pause, everybody's on pause, which is fine. That was what was planned. And it's welcome. It's welcome pauses. It's welcome to not be forcing yourself to do things that you're not ready to do. And we get to inspire ourselves every day by remembering that there is magic in the mystery. So even showing up not knowing what the structure may bring or the lack of structure may bring, and the fact that you might need to speak in front of people or you might need to um, like have my eyes on your mindset in your business, knowing that that video might be shared to the rest of the cohort. I believe that sometimes, and maybe not with anyone here right now, but I believe that sometimes this holds people back subconsciously. We're not even thinking, we're not like not coming to the call because we're like, oh, I don't want to have to speak in a group. I mean, you wouldn't be doing the work that you're doing if you didn't want to have to speak in a group. You're going to have to speak in the online space or at networking events or somewhere to tell people what you got going on. Um, and I truly believe that there are thoughts that are keeping us limited, right? And these are known commonly as limiting beliefs. Limiting thoughts become limiting beliefs. Thoughts are just, excuse me, beliefs are just thoughts that we are thinking on repeat that become so ingrained and so common in our headspace that it ends up becoming the way we carry ourselves. And we know that as coaches, guides, it's probably a cornerstone and a foundation of the work you do. And yet, none of us, me, my coaches, my millionaire coaches, none of us have perfected clearing every single thing out of the subconscious and being ultimately free. Not even my monk was completely free. My Guruji, I noticed very human qualities in him, which is beautiful. So even somebody committed to a life of orange robes and scholarly pursuits and celibacy of lifetime celibacy, no going back. This is a real monk. This wasn't like, yeah, try out a monk for a week. It was like a titled monk who is devoted to his calling. I've seen him get passionate and angry. And we have these perceptions of people in leadership and perceptions of ourself in leadership that we need to be either monk-like or perfect or some ideal version of a human that never falters, that never questions, and that has cleared everything out of her subconscious already. This is just not the case, and I'm hoping that today will bring things up in you that we can examine and unpack over the 3 days in the Art of Feminine Sales, which is happening October 7th, 8th, and 9th live. If you're watching this video in the future, then you can just download that video. There'll be links everywhere for you to be able to get inside of this training at any point. So, this is the transmission that is the prerequisite to understanding how we are going to show up and what we're going to be learning about and expanding into and unfolding out of um, over the 3 day transmission, The Art of Feminine Sales. And I'm going to be sharing with you how to attract clients, how to fill offers, how to sign clients on, how to really sign clients on. So, not just attract people into your audience, but sign those audience members onto working with you without feeling like you're convincing, without following an exact script and feeling like a sales robot, and doing it in a way that feels feminine. And today is going to blow your mind because we're going to really hone in on the number one misconception of why we are still playing with masculine and feminine, why we're even still questioning whether we can do something or not, or apply something in our business, or show up in a certain way, and calling it masculine or feminine. So let us get into it, and then I will be answering any personal questions that you have. So I pulled up some notes, created some notes. So I first want to start with the difference between men, women, and masculine and feminine. Now, you probably already know this a bit. You probably have some ideas around what is what is it your man look like if you are married or are attracting a man. Or I work with a lot of non-binary queer folks. My friends are queer. Like, you can be attracting any kind of person into your life with any kind of qualities, and both men and women have masculine and feminine qualities, right? And at the basic level, and this is not the part that is going to blow your mind. This is the part that you've heard, right? You've heard and maybe even teach on the difference between masculine approaches and feminine approaches. So, men and women both have masculine and feminine qualities. Now, I have been resistant to teaching on this particular topic because of my own personal ideas, struggles, resistance to either being too masculine or too feminine in the eyes of anybody else. And when I first had the Conscious Creative Business School, which turned into the Conscious Creative Business Immersion, which was much more of a mastermind, turned into the Magnum Opus Mentorship, and then my High Value Offer Incubator, created many different beautiful, high touch, high value offerings. When I first started, I had the Conscious Creative Business School. I hosted it all in a Facebook group. And I was really interested in teaching concepts, teaching people the way, teaching people how I had created abundance and been working completely for myself for almost a decade at that point, even though I was new to being a business coach. So I didn't start as a business coach. I started as an entrepreneur and then wanted to help spiritual entrepreneurs, soul-led leaders, visionaries like myself to fully work for themselves, to make their creative calling their full-time gig, because even though it is not easy, there are times when you might even think, why the fractal am I doing this? Nothing is working like it's supposed to. It's not flowing like all these flowy, feminine creatures say it's supposed to on the interwebs, on the Instagram of life. And so, F this noise, I quit. And then when we succumb to the thoughts that we need to be anything other than who we are and how we are being, we start to create a symptom of what the majority of the world, I call the cult of average, is living in every day. So the cult of average is looking for mommy and daddy's approval, masculine and feminine approval, doesn't want to be too much of anything, because when we're too much of something, this can hit, if in the past we have shown big emotions as children do, because they do not have the psychological, energetic, nervous system capacity to self-regulate. They need to be taught, and they need and require co-regulation. And many of us grew up in homes where that was not known. And even there was at the time where I was growing up, I'm 42 now, I'll be 42 in a few, like a month or something. Um, there was something known as the cry it out method. And we were encouraged, or parents were encouraged, even if they were thinking about parenting. And my parents were not. My parents were not reading parenting books and going, oh, I am becoming a parent. Let me read the baby books. I didn't read the baby books. It's from a movie you may recognize, but like they weren't reading the baby books. Like I was a surprise, a very loved mistake, or who knows, but our parents were doing the best that they could. And even some parents that were reading the baby books were saying, cry it out. This is the number one factor and indicator of what creates a sociopath. Kids being left alone in their cribs to cry it out. Now, thank you for bearing with me for this depression part of the segment of our beautiful time together. And we are going to lighten the mood in a second. But why, when you are told by coaches and therapists and Instagram flowy feminine people to just stay freaking positive, you want to give two middle fingers to them and say, what do you know about my life? You insert insult here. What do you know about being feminine or masculine? Because it hits on the survival mechanism of our system. Our nervous system goes into survival mode whenever we are approaching abandonment, or the thought of abandonment. And then we actually need structures and systems that have been pre-set up, because every sales conversation can feel like a rejection if we are not working through this. But the only real way to work through this is to come up against it and realize, wow, I am safe to have sales conversations that lead to a no. I am safe to put myself out there and have people judge my out there-ness. I am safe to be seen as too much, as me, as my full expression, as the opinions, as as speaking the opinions and values that I hold in this moment, and I am safe to change. So I am telling you that I am changing. And I may even show before and after pictures of me, um, of when I started my business and when I was hosting the Conscious Creative Business School. So bringing it back to the story, I was teaching people the way, and I was very direct. And I had times where I wasn't that warm, and I was avoiding the deeply caring human and archetype of the mystic, of the mother, of the loving one, of the lover girl, because every time I had been my sweet and sensitive self, it had been met by not just the masculine, but the universe, the reflection of the holographic experience we are all having of I did not trust my own expression. I did not love or fully accept that I was a sweet and sensitive child sometimes. I didn't care for my inner child. And so it was harder for me to care for the inner child of other people. And I'm just not convinced that we only need to sit alone in our bunkers and reparent ourselves. I believe that the most therapeutic experience that we can have is to drop into empathy, but remain there. If we're dropping into empathy at the cost of abandoning our desires, then we're talking about something different. So, if we are staying connected to our own truth, knowing that this is what we want, this is what we will accept in our lives, these are our boundaries, we can deliver compassionate, kind boundaries. And that's really beautiful. That's a whole human, a feminine leader, because when you are saying leader, you are automatically put in the energy and connotation of something that has been perceived as masculine. And so feminine leadership is again the combination of that you have shown up in this world to be. But the beautiful thing about uh, leaning on masculine structures and unfolding into feminine receptivity and empathy and understanding and flow is I've also been able to be more girly. I didn't start wearing pink or allowing my full-bodied, curvy expression to be shown because I didn't feel safe at all in the feminine. And I felt much more safe blocking people out, letting them know the exact formulas and structures and teaching without any without as much. There was some, I was a great teacher back then as well, but without as much connection and really seeing people. And I was afraid to see people because if I saw people, then I would have to see myself. And if I loved people, then I would have to love myself. And I remember being in a ayahuasca journey and ayahuasca showing me, the mother, as we call her, showing me every single thing I had done wrong in my life. And believe me, like, I am a good girl. Like, I'm not quite sure that I want to banish the good girl qualities. Like, I think it's very kinky and playful to play with being a good girl. Like, look how good I am, daddy. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. And it leaves a bad taste in people's mouth. And those are not my people. It's all an opportunity to play with energy and archetype. It may not resonate with you, and that's fine. It doesn't mean that what I'm going to share with you today doesn't have value. And I genuinely was a good girl. Like I got straight A's. Like I didn't do a lot of bad things. Like I got caught drinking, I got caught stealing, but just like normal teenage stuff. And like maybe I wasn't really kind to some friends who needed my support at a time where, they were actual like addicts, and I chose to focus on myself. And breakups with men where I finally was able to see that everything was not his fault and where I could take accountability and I could take growth. And in the spiritual context, the most spiritual thing that we can all do is take radical self-responsibility. And that might not be the first thing we come to when we are on a spiritual path. Like we do need to honor and acknowledge the pain that we've been through, things that are painful, ensure that we're not bypassing our feelings. It is okay to be mad. It is okay to know that other people have effed up. Um, it is okay to actually be the victim for a moment, because if you are having somebody do wrong things to you, but your immediate response, hello, that's me fawning 101, your immediate response is to fix or say, I'm sorry, without actually going like, hey, it's not just me here, then we're just also perpetuating self-abandonment and taking on too much responsibility for um, things that are not your responsibility to take on, is when it comes to conflict resolution and two people moving through and navigating difficult scenarios. So, and and I'm bringing this up because, okay, so coming back to the story too, but I'm bringing this up because men and women are on the opposite spectrum of black and white thinking, of dualistic ideas. Now, I told you I studied with a monk. I have a Guruji. I'm not in contact with him anymore. I don't study with him anymore, but it's really beautiful to say I have a Guruji and to really feel what that means. I awakened at the foot of a master, and we dip in and out of the conscious levels, and my highest joy and path is to continue, overall continue on a up and an upward spiral. But, sometimes we come down and realize, okay, I have regressed a bit and I'm not thinking about this from the lens from which I awakened from, and regained consciousness and regained an understanding of how energies work. So I'm here with you back in this feminine initiation, understanding how these energies work and transmitting them. The best way to understand something is to teach it. So if for anybody who is not teaching their offers, or having imposter syndrome, or waiting till they're fully in the teaching, like you're going to get better and better and master your craft by showing up and teaching from the level of consciousness that you are experiencing now. Okay. So I just want to say that as a caveat. But in the ayahuasca ceremony, she showed me all the things that I had done wrong, the things that I had not yet taken accountability for. But she also asked me every single time, are you willing to love yourself even though this happened? And I was like, nope. Every time I'm telling the mother of dragons and snakes, no, absolutely not. I'm not willing to love myself. That was so messed up. Another vision, something worse. Are you willing to love yourself now? I don't think so. No. And finally, finally, in the wee hours of the morning, after several rebirths, after not being able to calm, crying, expelling, all the things that we do in deep work, um, I was like, fine, I'll think about loving myself. And I was rewarded. And I'm just telling you this so you can see how resistance shows up, even in a moment when all you can do usually on the mother is surrender, because oftentimes she'll take you. But the fact that she gave me full control and my wits about me, to say like, yeah, you have control. It's in your hands to love you or yourself or not. And I'm like, nope, nope, nope. But the moment that I thought about maybe loving myself in the future someday, um, she rewarded me with blissful feelings, beautiful visions, the felt experience of unconditional love with every single thing in my surroundings. And I'm a firm believer that we do not need medicine to go on these journeys. They open to the extreme of these what the experience of life we could have, like being full bliss, full and unconditional love, like, wow, like I could possibly live like this all the time and not have all these conflicts and not have all these, oh, that's too feminine, that's too masculine, and not have all these judgments of myself and others. Um, and ultimately, we don't live in a medicine space permanently because it is the forgetting and the reawakening that offers us the contrast of life that we need to carve into our being and become who we're meant to become. So, with that, I had a client call me too masculine, and I couldn't take it. I was just like, or what's funny is I'm remembering it wrong, and this is the part of memory. She didn't even call me too masculine. She said, I can't just take this, masculine way of just do it. Of just do it. And here's the thing. At some level, we have to just kind of do it. I'm whispering this to you because I know you don't want to hear it in a hard way. But sometimes you just kind of have to sit with the page and let the ache of the longing to be a better writer and expressionista and someone who carves onto the page a visual image of where you are leading people and lets transformation live in the journey of the online space. And it's not about the online space, but it's about the expression, and that the online space can carry your words further and farther. And those are the same two words, further and farther, but carried across mountains and oceans and valleys and cloud systems and nebulous, I want to say, like cumulus, and culminate in some people feeling you as their guide, and ultimately the ripple effect happens. They feel you as their guide. They say, finally, this is my person. They sign on to work with you, and then they go on and create whatever they're meant to create in their lives because they are finally supported, seen, heard, guided by somebody who's doing deeper work. So I most likely responded in a professional way, and yet her words sat with me for years of like, who am I to teach on a feminine approach? And I must be too masculine. I'm too masculine for these women who are. I also had a lot of fairy friends, which I didn't get. Remember, I had taken myself through a master's degree. I left home in my early 20s, drive across country, hyper independent, have lived on my own for 20 something years, and have been an entrepreneur for over a decade. And so there are qualities of the masculine that are necessary to be able to live a full and complete life and have the success that you want. So, as I'm teaching on feminine sales, we are not here to admonish men, to admonish the masculine, or anything like that. And the treat also of leaning on the masculine structures that I've set up for myself is I show up safe to be a girly girl. And you never have to be a girly girl or desire to be a girly girl to unfold into feminine sales because it has nothing to do with men and women and has everything to do with archetypical energies, archetypal, the archetypes that we are going to discover here and now together. And we are going to weave my favorite, you all know it, astrology back into the mix. So, are you ready for this? So, this was a beautiful interlude to teach you the three forces of the feminine that are going to blow your mind around what you considered feminine in business and masculine in business. Nothing is too much. We all know both is needed. But what if both were not needed, right? What if we've been thinking about this all wrong? I just asked in the live transmission group that I'm hosting for the Art of Feminine Sales, the 3-day transmission and event that's going to help you to master this art, master sales without scarcity or scripts. I just asked what folks thought of the masculine and feminine. And what I noticed was the same thing that I have been experiencing in my own life of swinging from masculine to feminine with these ideas, and then also not knowing if we're doing it right. Shaming ourselves when we're too masculine, shaming ourselves when we're too feminine. And I'm not even going to ask you today to come to center. I am going to tell you something that is going to change the way you approach feminine sales for the rest of your life. Okay. So, in the tantric tradition, both Hindu Tantra and Buddhist Tantra, Shakti is the feminine principle. It's seen as creative force. It's the entire cosmos. It's everything. It's not even just Mother Earth. Oh, Mother Earth is feminine, right? It's the entire cosmos. It's the entirety of every star system. Sagittarius, Taurus, Gemini, every star system was birthed from, in this tradition, Shakti energy, which is the feminine principle. Everything that is manifest, everything that we can experience, because we can experience an entire star system, either in our visions or through pictures from NASA, or however you are experiencing the astrological waves that we have been experiencing as above, so below. We are experiencing the cosmos. Anything that we can experience is Shakti. Now, Shiva Shakti, Shambho. You said, but did you see my unconscious eye roll? Because I'm over the hippie life, and yet I have been born from it. But Shiva, Shambho. Okay. Shiva, the masculine principle, is pure consciousness, stillness, the witness. Without Shakti, Shiva is inert. There is no universe without the feminine principle. You would just be, I don't even have a word for it. Inert, maybe, is as close as we can get. Without Shiva, Shakti has no container, though. Shakti is birth. What do they say? Like, listen, I didn't read the Bible at all. If you go to my Instagram, it is posted. I got in trouble when I was 9 for breaking into church trying to get that Jesus wafer. But I do know that the Bible says that uh, Eve was born from Adam's rib, and then all the feminists are like, absolutely not. Like, I am not born from the men. But a rib, what? A rib contains your heart. A rib contains your heart. So if you look at all of these books as beautiful, poetic, I mean, I know there's parts of the Bible that are not beautiful nor poetic and are quite frightening. And oh my God, the big stretch. And that part is so poetic, born from the containment, the container that holds the feminine heart, that holds the heart that keeps us all alive. The heart of the earth keeps earth alive. The heart of us pumps our blood and keeps us alive, helps us to think and helps us to move and helps us to express and helps us to sleep and helps us to be. We would not be here without our heart. Beautiful, right? So Shiva, the masculine princess, Shiva, the masculine princess, probably, is pure consciousness, stillness, the witness. But without Shakti, Shiva is inert, and without Shiva, Shakti has no container. And so this is why in the tantric philosophy, and if you study yoga, hatha yoga, we are looking to balance the masculine and feminine. We do anulom vilom, we do alternate nostril breathing so that we're balancing in the Taoist traditions too. There isn't all bad or good. It's just freaking yin and yang. You just need both. And logically we know that. And yet we still are not walking this earth as a full yin yang. Like just walking around like a yin yang. We're going, I'm too feminine, I'm too masculine, I'm too feminine. And it is not as simple as balance, though. This is what I want to say. It's nothing in life is balanced at all times. And alom vilom, alternate nostril breathing, shows you that 90 minutes of the day, you are more in masculine energy, and 90 minutes of the day, you are more in feminine energy, and you can balance that with your alternate nostril breathing. But when you are in feminine energy, you're in feminine energy. It's not like you're, like, but you are in both throughout the day, equal parts. You're not fully trying to be anything. You are here, present, whole, without judgment. And in tantric philosophy, it proposes all of the world is feminine. The material universe, the dance of life, the constant creation and destruction, all of it is feminine expression of Shakti. The masculine is the backdrop of awareness, but the world itself, the play of form, the lila, as we call it in yoga, is feminine. So when we talk about feminine in business and we talk about feminine in sales, we're not talking about pink branding or lipstick. You want to do it, you can do it. We are talking about the primal force that births all of life. In tantric philosophy, everything manifest is feminine. All of creation, every business, every offer, every sale conversation is Shakti expressing herself. Yes, the masculine gives it structure. We are never without the masculine. But the world, our expression, the way we speak, the way we hold space, it's feminine, baby. It's feminine. So I want to drive this a bit home by talking about the three forces of the feminine so that you can see how this is expresses itself in your business. So how this topic and idea and energy expresses itself in your business. So in all of life, there are three forces, and you can make a triangle with your hands. In all of life, there are three forces. There's active force, passive force, and neutral force. I work with a symbol called the Enneagram, which is more than a personality test. It is sacred geometry that tells the story of the hero's journey. And it starts with the triangle. When you can figure out the 369, this is what Tesla said. When you can figure out the 369 of any creation event, you can figure out the rest. So in all of my programs, I figure out for you the 369 of the creative journey, the creative aim, and then we fill in the rest for you. In anything creative, so all of the universe, all of the manifest, anything that we can experience, there's an active, a passive, and a neutralizing or a reconciling force. So the passive force is on the first point, the bottom, I mean, we might be flipped. Me? Yeah. The bottom left of your, okay, I'm flipped on, I'm not flipped on this video, I'm flipped on this video. So the bottom left of your triangle is the passive force, what gets to be burned away. The bottom right, looking at the triangle. Anyway, three forces. We'll figure this out all together if you join me. But looking at the triangle, the bottom right is the passive force. Looking at the triangle, the bottom left is the active force. And at the top of the triangle is the neutralizing force, the reconciling force. And anything has these three factors. So we have these three factors within the masculine. We have these three factors within the feminine. So we're going to talk today about these three faces of the feminine. The active feminine is the initiator. And to weave astrology back in, these are the signs of Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius, our fire signs. This is the energy of fire, action, daring, birthing. Anybody has given birth, you know that you need to be daring. You need to have fire. You will naturally have tapas, that drive that lives in the solar plexus, take over. I have not given birth to a child, but I have birthed many, many programs, and it is a similar expression. And so in sales, this feminine force, takes bold steps, initiates conversations. Folks are like, I just want to be feminine in my business. And so they never talk to their audience. But every time I have said, hey, I know you have been interested in building your business and growing your sacred calling and being valued for your gifts, presence, and wisdom, I have something for you. It's free or it's paid, either or. I have something for you. Only once or twice in all of my years doing this has someone been like, meh. And then I'm like, oh, it's okay. It's not personal. They're going through something. So the feminine actually initiates conversation. The feminine launches. The feminine talks about her offers. The feminine makes bold invitations. The shadow of this feminine expression, though, the shadow of the Aries, the Leo, and the Sagittarius could be overexertion, pushy, and burnt out when disconnected. So I just want you to think that when you are being pushy or you're overexerting or you're overthinking, that you don't have to say, oh, I'm too much in my masculine and I should just I just need to be feminine. I just need to wear more lipstick. I just need to buy a dress. I just need to insert false misconceptions of the feminine here. No, you actually need to balance out the astrological archetypes of Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius, and not maybe with the passive force, but with the neutralizing force, which I'll get to in a second. But example is for the example, a positive, balanced expression of the active feminine in sales and in business is going live, pushing live without thinking and just speaking from your heart, reaching out. reaching out. You don't have to reach out to people cold, but if somebody follows you, reach out and say hi. If somebody buys a low cost offer, reach out and say hi. Ask them what's going on. Ask them how the course is going for them. An example of this is boldly raising your prices, which is going to send you on a journey of overthinking. And that's why it's nice to have a coach on your side when you're doing something that bold. Um, and then we have the passive feminine, the receptive feminine. Okay. And this is water, longing. Oh, I got the chills. Surrender and magnetism. And the false misconception that when you are in a pause, you are too feminine, or when you are inconsistent, that nobody is going to buy from you, or when you are crying or having conflict with somebody or feeling all the feels, that you're not magnetic. What if clearing the space by really feeling the pain of what is happening in your life is the most magnetic thing that you can do, or energy that you can walk with, a moment of your beinghood, right? And this is this is my least favorite. All last week, I was grieving. So people are saying now that we should be over the eclipse portal, which I get. The eclipse portal is done. Whatever has happened was meant to happen. If you lost a relationship, if you got into a fight with a loved one, if you lost a business offer, if something didn't work, if you got rejected, if you got in conflict, if something was, the rug was pulled out from under you, um, then yeah, all the astrologers are saying, get over it. But um, as a psychologist, now we start the grieving process. So the portal is done. Whatever happened is happened. Not much more should happen. I mean, everything's always happening, right? We are here to experience. So, like anything that can be experienced is going to be experienced by somebody. And it is not your responsibility to experience everything. And there are things that you are experiencing and have experienced that you get to grieve or start the rebuilding process. And either one of those things is going to, the rebuilding is going to take the active feminine, but the grieving is going to take the receptive feminine. The rug has been pulled out from under me. I am hanging on, going chasing that rug. This is my process. If anybody else can relate, but I'm thinking of this phrase that my teacher says: "Go willingly or be dragged." Go willingly, my friends, or be dragged. And I and still, not have perfected the go willingly, lay back into the water. Imagine being on a river backwards and you don't know where the fuck it's going, and you're supposed to trust. You are supposed to trust. If you were meant to fly down a waterfall and be caught by a beautiful lagoon, you were meant to. This is the part that we have no control over. We have a divine destiny. And the more that we try to swim upstream, oh, the harder it is. But I get you. I get you. I can really be a feminine force of nature. I can really be the river. But the little otter flowing in the river, I can be that, but with much more judgment. And so the feminine initiation of feminine sales that we're on together for the next few weeks, this starts the container of my Enneagram, my hero's journey that I will be walking you through, our hero's journey together more accurately. Um, I get to go first. And we just get to understand that it's not about perfection, that this pattern may come up for me every time. And it's about acknowledging it with respect, bowing our head to the archetypical energies that we just get to play with and invoke. So if I, or if you, or if you're anything like me, tend to take bold steps and initiate conversation and launch. You don't want to stop doing that, but you want to infuse magnetism by holding space for yourself and not rushing the grieving process. However, you can still hold space for your clients and your potential clients and sales conversations as you're holding space for yourself. In fact, this is the process. So it doesn't mean close down your business every time you're having a bad week or you're crying. The most magnetic thing that you can do is reveal your feminine heart. So in sales, this is Cancer, Scorpio, and Pisces. And in sales, she magnetizes, receives, holds space for clients to step in, clears space through the emptying of her vessel, through the tears of her longing or her grief or her just meeting that space where she's not quite who she's meant to be. Maybe you've regressed. For example, I am in a transition home. I do not have a view of the lake anymore. I know I want to leave the community that I'm living in. Um, and I don't know where to go. And I don't know, uh, I don't know. I don't know. Oh, what a beautiful feminine revelation to say, I don't know, and to know that you are safe in that transition and it doesn't mean anything. Look how cute my house is. Look at me. Look at that. Look at that. It's all beautiful. And yet it's okay. It's more than okay. It's the most magnetic thing about you to be in your own transition because you have more empathy and understanding for others in their transition. And that's what we're doing as coaches, healers, guides, mentors, teachers, space holders. We're guiding people through a transformation and a transition, right? So the shadow of this feminine is dreamy but inactive. So you're visioning that next level life and you're manifesting it. You're like, okay, I want to be, I know I want this for my life and it's going to look like this and it feels so good in the body and we need that and let's go. Amazing. And then you go live. And then you go live and then you make that reach out and then you host the call and then you come to your next class with a framework because the framework itself is not masculine and you don't need to avoid the masculine. What you're truly avoiding is your whole self. So the shadow of the passive feminine is waiting too long. Now, many of you dance in this space of not wanting to rush, not wanting to reveal something maybe that you haven't fully come to conclusion in or resolution around. And I just want to throw those rules out because right now I'm initiating myself into feminine sales and holding excellent space, better space, because knowing that it isn't easy, that it's going to require different energies, different tools, my presence, my awareness, it's going to require me to become someone that I am not yet. And then I get to, hey, come, here's what we're doing. Let's go. We're in this together. And I don't need to be 10 steps ahead of anybody. I just get to be me. So you just get to be you in whatever you're going through and sharing that space and holding that frequency of acceptance for yourself and holding that frequency of acceptance for your potential clients and your potential clients, because we're talking about sales here. So waiting too long is the shadow. You do not need to have a spark of clarity to say, I can move now. You can say, I am enough as I am in this energy of transition and transformation. And so I will continue with the flow of my expression and I will hold better space because of it. And avoiding invitations because you don't feel like you can hold space. But believe me, if this is your purpose, as soon as that client steps into your world, you will be there for them. As soon as the video goes live, you will be present with what wants to move through you. And if you don't believe it, this is the journey that I'm taking you on inside the Conscious Creative Business School and for free in the Art of Feminine Sales happening October 7th, 8th, and 9th. If you're watching this in the future, you can get it instant access. But this is the journey that I'm taking you on in the Art of Feminine Sales because it is a journey. You're not going to automatically, by me telling you that there's an active, passive, and reconciling feminine, which I'm going to get into the reconciling just now, just by me telling you this, it is not the same as initiating yourself into this work. And you are a self initiate, and to be initiated is to go on the path with someone who has initiated themselves, who has been initiated. So I've been initiated into the hero's journey. I am the heroine's journey, and I am now taking you, right? You're a self initiate, meaning that you need to decide. You need to choose to go on the journey, to quit just learning and learning and learning, but to take yourself step by step, glorious dance by dance, glorious motion by motion, because everything in motion is Shakti and the entire universe is in motion, even if you are sitting in meditation. So, waiting too long or avoiding invitations is the shadow. How to come out of that shadow and how to balance this passive feminine is to allow DMs. Say, hey, I'm open for you to message me. Just say that. I'm open for you to comment and allowing yourself to receive these DMs. Like, do you even check your DMs? Do you even check your comments, or are you afraid of trolls, right? People with bigger audience, they're like afraid to check because of the process that they're going to have to go on simply because they don't have support. I coached a client this morning via voice note in my school deeply around scarcity mindset that she was not even thinking that she had. She thought she was coming to me for like, hey, let's optimize my sales page. And I caught something in her subconscious that will change the way she shows up, not just for the rest of the week, but hopefully for the rest of her life, to be able to make easeful sales by magnetizing, because we cannot magnetize. It is not the most magnetic expression, living in scarcity mindset and unconscious scarcity mindset. I'm going to talk about this in the event, so I'm not going to go deep in it here. But unconscious scarcity mindset, it creeps up in me. We sometimes don't even know that this is what is happening, and we just need someone present and accepting and loving to lovingly point that out. That is why I exist. Not to say to the world, you're in scarcity, and not to go online and be like, you're scarcity. It's to like personally help each and every one of the people who have chosen to join me in a portal of transformation and value my eyes on their business to help them personally, even at the school level and at the group level. It's not just about teaching, it's about excavating what lives in the unconscious and in the mysterious world of the unconscious that I have the gift of seeing by hearing your language, by seeing your language. In the school, I only accept texts. You want to send me a voice note, join me at the mentorship level, but these are my loving boundaries because we need containers. Otherwise, I'm just leaking all over the place and we cannot. And so the shadow also of the passive feminine is like leaking, 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 and self-abandonment because there's no containment. And we're going to take care of that in the neutralizing force. So, one more example of how to come back, or two more rather, of how to come back into balance with the passive feminine is trusting the timing. Like you will be able to taste the subtle difference between being in a sacred pause and wallowing in your bullshit thoughts and waiting too long. It's a subtle taste, and if you cannot taste it, I can certainly taste it and help you by asking you the right questions to help you decide if you are diminishing your power or if you are pausing with grace and that is what is actually needed. Uh, and then making space for clients to choose. So making space for clients to choose could be, are you writing the offer down and saying what the invitation is? But also, one thing that I did yesterday, my clients know this, I messaged everybody, got it took like a temperature check of everybody. I cleared out the old, there are a few people that last month was their last month. I cleared them from the container. And I really did the energy work. Well, see, anytime I do energy, like it's like instant energy work, but I did the energy work to really open spaces in my heart. You know, yes, I've been crying and releasing in that way, but to open spaces in my heart to say, yes, yes, I'm ready for new people. But not only that, I'm ready to hold space for the new versions of my clients because you are always evolving. They are always evolving. We are always evolving. And I want to meet them in understanding where they are at so we can go on a new journey together. Um, and now the reconciling feminine, the integrator, the neutralizing force. So this is the top of the triangle, and this is the force that people forget. So even in the dance between masculine and feminine, we are perpetuating duality. We are not judging this. We are just saying there are levels of conscious sales. I'm going to talk more about this in the 3-day event, but there are levels of conscious sales, and you're going to have a much more seamless sales time. You're going to have a much more seamless journey for your people when you actually vibe with a higher consciousness of potential client. But we can only do that if we are remembering this third force, because anytime you are ping-ponging back and forth between black and white, this is causing conflict. But there's nothing wrong with conflict. Tension creates orgasms. Tension creates birth. Tension creates awakening. Conflict creates deeper connection. Rupture is the only way that we can have true repair. And so we get to stop judging ourselves for being on the two, masculine and feminine, black and white thinking, sun and moon, active, passive, and remember and ascend out of it all through the reconciling feminine. This energy is balance, is rhythm, is structure and embodiment. So structure is not masculine. Structure is not masculine. Structure is the reconciling feminine. And I am embedding this knowledge into my DNA because this is the new channeling, the new paradigm of sales that has been moving through me very recently. So I'm on this journey with you. Structure is not masculine. Anything that can be experienced, including structure, is feminine. So structure is the reconciling feminine. Astrology, this is earth and air. Taurus, Virgo, Capricorn, Libra, Aquarius, Gemini. In sales, she harmonizes initiating with receiving. So you have the channels from which money can come through. You have invoicing systems, you have calendar links, you have systems and structure, you have an offer that you can be paid for that is outlined and clarified and refined in a beautiful way. I help you to do all of this in the Conscious Creative Business School. Um, and yes, she sustains also. This, if you looked at the masculine approach in the Hindu tradition, is Shiva, Brahma, and Vishnu. And so it's fun that I talked about Shiva and Shakti in the beginning of this call and how Shiva is containment and inertia. But even within the masculine force, the Shiva presence, Shiva is not the only face of the masculine. There's also Brahma, the creator. There's also Vishnu, the sustainer. And so, from an astrological lens, we have all of these energies in our chart, even if we do not have planets in these signs. So, if you like don't have your sun in Taurus, Virgo, Capricorn, Libra, Aquarius, or Gemini, you still have the reconciling feminine within your chart. And this season of the Conscious Creative Business School, I am going to be weaving this in. So you will have your chart open every class so that we can see where in your chart the passive feminine lives, the active feminine lives, and the reconciling feminine lives. And even again, if you don't have any planets in these signs, there is an astrological way to determine the energy. So you're going to learn that, and not so that you can be an astrologer, but so that you can finally master the art of feminine sales. So the shadow of the reconciling feminine is over systematizing. So I was coaching my client this morning on data and her optimizing the quiz. This woman just had 200 people take the quiz, her quiz, her marketing quiz. She just got 8,000 people in a Facebook group, 200 people taking the quiz. So 200 new people on our email list. And finally, the structure to be able to repeat that. Oh man, no worries. One moment. Um, just want to free up some space here because I'm about to say something grand. I know I am, and I want to record it. Thank you for hanging out with me while I do this. Ha ha ha. Delete. Delete. Okay, so yes. And she's coming to me with let's audit and optimize this funnel, which hey, I have a YouTube video all around the sacred art of funnels. Amazing, beautiful, uh great. And we must first start with what a blessing it is to have folks that have been touched by our body of work. And so the reconciling feminine may over systematize at times, especially, like earth and air signs, we're thinking and we're doing and okay. But over perfecting loses the sparkle. So another example of this is just focused on launching and like the formulas of launching. So I give everybody in the online learning portal, the Conscious Creative Business School, all of the formulas, the systems, the teachings that one could need, the worksheets, the step-by-step guidance. But if one of my clients is just like following the framework step by step, but not adding your own personality, uh, love, heart-centered messaging, stories, it's going to come off as dry and too airy, and it's not going to give you the result that you want. So, so how do we come back into balance with this? We build launch rhythms versus like structure that's stifling. We build offers that are scalable. So some of the clients that I predict will come to me in the next round of the school, it's not about where do I start, what is my purpose, how do I open up an Instagram account. It's how can I scale my wisdom, knowledge, and presence, especially because many people believe that your presence isn't scalable. They'll say to you, you can't trade time for dollars, but you are giving a lot of your time to your business, even if you are like trying to be a passive income princess and not have to do anything in your business. Creating passive income requires a whole lot of uh, time, energy, and money. So there's that. But we show up in a flow. I don't want you to focus on consistency as you're scaling your business. I want you to focus on a natural rhythm that flows, because consistency can get us in trouble when we think that consistency, our consistency, needs to look like somebody else's consistency. So somebody who has the $10,000 in ad spend to put out, and now they're everywhere all over the internet because they have the ad spend and they look like they are working all of the time, but they're not. Like, if you don't have that, we can build towards that. We want to build and scale from where you are at so that you can someday put $1,000 to $10,000 towards ads, but we can't think about ads right now if you're in scarcity or you're trying to follow robotic scripts or you're contorting yourself into an expression that looks feminine and performs as feminine, but isn't actually the whole and complete face of the feminine force. Okay, so to close this, and I'll start asking personal questions. Um, we want to find out where your imbalance is. So after this session, simply contemplate. Do you feel pushy? Ask yourself these questions. Do you feel pushy? Do you feel pushy? Like, when are you actually being pushy? Because sometimes we feel pushy by making an invitation, and this isn't true, but I'm going to help you to clear this in the 3 days, the art of feminine initiation into sales mastery. If you feel pushy, we may get to clean that up next week. Um, but if you are pushing, that's a different story. But for now, we're just asking these questions so that you can come to the 3-day event, um, knowing what it is that you want to clear up so that you can get the true results that you're after. And results are not too masculine. When you get the result of filling up your offers, please remember how many people's lives you will touch by claiming that result for yourself. If you want the result of speaking on stages around the world, it is not a too masculine or too pushy thing or too goal oriented thing to speak on stages around the world, because think of how many lives you're going to impact through the ripple effect of you sharing something that sparks something in someone, whether they buy from you or not. So, do you feel exhausted? And, I feel exhausted from different reasons. So, my business fulfills me. My business fulfills me, and that's what I want for you. I'm exhausted from different parts of my life. And so I'm on a feminine initiation in relationships, and I have been for a long time. And yet, our businesses run on relationships. So when my relationships are feeling, I'm forgetting that there is three forces to the feminine. And when it comes to relating, I can forget that in business as well. So wherever you feel exhausted, it's okay. If you feel exhausted, you can apply this principle that I'm teaching you today to any part of your life, and you're going to watch that start to feel a little bit more easeful, a little bit more forgiving, a little bit more gentle, and your nervous system is going to naturally rewire itself. And you can also take deeper breaths. And inside of the Conscious Creative Business School, I am helping you through coaching to rewire your nervous system in real time. That's what all my transmissions do for people, whether they realize it or not, is they leave feeling like anything is possible because their nervous system feels calmer and they just get to show up to the calls, and that can be their nervous system resourcing for the week, as well as whatever other beautiful um, things that they may even teach on, or that you may all teach on, such like deeper breaths, your practices, and I love that for you. I also have energetic practices in module 3 of every single one of my online courses and programs, which can be taken self-paced. And my clients, all of you, have the ability to do this half self-paced and half live, get that live personal touch with office hours and questions answered and personal time like we're doing now. So that's my invitation for any client who has fallen off. Just come to the calls and see what happens, see how you feel afterwards. And you may feel uncomfortable afterwards because you may have faced a part of yourself, and you may understand that you need to go on another journey and face more of yourself, and that's okay. It's part of it. Growth isn't always comfortable. But you are resourcing your nervous system to be able to do the deep work. So too much active, you would feel pushy, exhausted, or forcing results. Too much passive, do you feel invisible? Do you feel invisible? Do you feel overlooked? Do you feel like you're waiting to be ready? Yeah. And I cannot fix you in those moments, but I can offer you um, practices and the understanding that the passive is out of balance. Okay. And if you answer that you feel inconsistent, or you have unpredictable income, or life is unpredictable, do you have systems? Do you have that reconciling force built? Because that is what we are going to create in the next program of the Conscious Creative Business School, which is going to be all around scaling without losing your feminine expression and your artistry. So, what balance really looks like in sales is all of this: initiates invitations, receives the yes, and creates the systems for more yeses. It initiates the invitations, receives the yes, or receives the no's. But when we're receiving the yeses, double down on what's working, check out what's working, amplify what's working, and create a system so that too many yeses doesn't burn you out, because too many yeses could burn you out without the proper systems. And then, so a launch where you're only active could lead to burnout, and a season where you're all passive. Oh, that's like my worst fear is just like succumbing to, watching my income go down and down and down and down because I'm not feeling worthy to receive clients and money, all because I'm in a phase of sadness or connection to the great mystery. You get to have both. You get to be in connection to the great mystery and feel the pain of the world without denying income and clients and helping people transform. You get to have both. You also get to have sustainable rhythm, consistent signups, no matter what season of your personal life you're in, but you probably haven't created that yet. And so we're going to go on that journey together. Okay, so thank you so much for being here, for going on that journey with me. And um, I want to hear from you. If anybody wants to unmute and talk about what that's like for you, where you think you're at, and any questions that you have, you can go ahead and raise your hand or unmute. Yes, Adriana, I'd love to hear from you.
Well, you really blew my mind with the whole like like all birthing from the feminine in a way that is more mm, I hope it makes sense, but it's not like it comes as a wow, this is completely new. It feels more like a recognition of that truth, especially because I work with the moon. And my whole thing has been being able to hold this both, right? Like the both and like I get to do this and also be this. And how the moon basically gives us that structure, a compass that really symbolizes the creative process, right? Like, and so this whole thing of the masculine and feminine, and I actually look at the elements of nature, and I look at the fire and the air and the masculine side and the waxing cycle of the moon, and then the earth and the water and the waning, but only as understanding those qualities, the archetypes, the qualities of the elements and how they live in us so that we can know how to balance them. But to see this from the everything is feminine, even the structure, because even like in my work, I bring the yoga philosophy, I bring the stira sukha, like it's the perfect balance of effort and ease and structure and relaxation. And so until like even now, like I've been seeing that as the structure is masculine, the relaxation is feminine, the effort is masculine. Even does it make sense? Like,
Mhm.
but so here and this like this, it's like, oh, it just feels nice. It just feels very beautiful, and I can feel that it really changes. Actually, I'm even to submit a chapter for a book that is about lunar magic. And so my what I have written is about this both and listening, I'm like, oh, I feel like I just want to go and read everything that I read, and change it all. But no, I have, it's gonna be as it is. But it really, really um opens up a whole level of understanding for me that I know as I embodied more, it's not something that I necessarily have to go and change the way that I teach, but I can begin to practice it myself and then allow it to be whatever and however that's going to be expressed in my work by doing this. So I really love it. And like I'm really very grateful to be here and you hold that space for my big eclipse season. So I'm really very happy and grateful and yeah. So this was beautiful. Thank you so much.
Mm. Yeah, thank you for expressing yourself and sharing your voice because I can feel your care, your leadership, and just the way that you express yourself. And just to offer a little bit of coaching around this concept of, okay, when we learn something new, it's like, oh my goodness, I have to change my whole life. But I love that you caught that and you're like, wait a minute, because really, you simply want to apply this to your business. You don't want to
Mhm.
change any teachings. You're already teaching on it, as you acknowledged. You simply want to apply this to your business. And it took
Mhm.
me a long time to teach the Enneagram because once I had learned it, I couldn't unsee it. But I had to really go on that journey of like, um, but do I want to teach on this? Do I want to
Mhm.
guide people through this? And if you do, it will unfold.
Mhm.
And what I talk about with the Enneagram is coming from safe money into soul money does not mean that we explode the safe money. This is
Mhm.
not why. It is will wreak havoc to your nervous system. We have safe money through offerings that are working. They may start to, as you learn something new or know that there's a next era, the safe money might start to go down. It might not. And it's an invitation to transform into soul money and to start sharing on the principles that you want to be sharing on. But in your case, you're already sharing on them. And right now, especially, you want to be sharing these things with more people. And so attracting more and better clients gives you that opportunity to actually teach on whatever you want to teach on as they're in your container. Because as they're in your container, you can always say, and on your platforms too, you can always say, I have had a change of heart, and this is what I now know. But you, again, don't want to force a result by forcing that process. You get to let it come out naturally and let this transmission naturally change your next transmission.
Mhm.
That's okay without force, without needing to be like, oh, I got to teach it like this. And but if you're inspired by remembering, oh my goodness, I mean, I was a yoga teacher, when I was starting to channel this, same. It wasn't anything new that I was learning. It was remembering what I had already learned and realizing that I forgot. And it's like, oh, okay. So also giving you permission to at any point to speak on anything that has become known to you. And you don't even have to say, oh, I had it wrong. Nobody has to do that. Nobody has to admit that they're wrong. You can just not, I mean, if you did something wrong, you can admit that you're wrong and we can always apologize. There's no problem. But I find the feminine or the misconceptions of the feminine is that we apologize, when we're in the shadow of the feminine or we're in our wounded feminine, is we apologize for things and take over responsibility for things that we don't need to be taking over responsibility for. We don't need to bring attention to our audience and say, I am so sorry I wasn't teaching on this before. But you also could. There isn't a good or bad or a right or wrong, but you get to sink into, yes, apply this into your own life first, and then you'll have natural stories of when you remembered that all is feminine, and you're going to see my content change too. So, and hopefully you're not going to see me apologize for it.
No,
But you never
and I know,
know.
and the other thing that now, like, and this just it makes so much sense. Like recognizing all of this within what I have been experiencing the last month, the like all of it, like the passive, the active, the neutral in different ways. And one of the things that just for everybody like listening, like it's like so right, like what Christina is saying is really like just it is very true. I have been having one of the most difficult months, let's say, or weeks with all these thoughts and guilt and sorry and lack, but at the same time have been showing up. Like I have been allowing myself that, keeping that momentum, and so inside I have been feeling like crap with doubts
Mm,
and worries, but at the same time very excited about what I'm creating without even having heard this from you. So when I hear it, it's just like it just makes so much sense and it gives me so much more understanding to put it more into practice. And sometimes it's weird because now you learned it and you're like, oh, now I'm doing it. Before I was like not thinking about it, I'm just doing it. But now it's like integrating it in a different way, if it makes sense. So I have been dealing with that and feeling the imbalance, but at the same time balancing it with keeping this, showing up and not afraid of looking at my messages and reaching out people that have said they're interested and receiving a lot of no's, but those no's have been not like right now, but people saying that they really like what I'm doing. They love it.
Mm.
They're just not, it's like I would like to join in a couple of weeks or something. So now I'm just to follow up, and that's what I feel is hard. That's where I feel my own resistance. Like, oh, should I reach out now? Like, when should I reach? They said they will, maybe at the end of the month. It's the end of the month. What should I do? Am I pushy? So I'm really, I can see it all within this that you are teaching us today. So I love it.
I love that. So since this is a coaching call, and I will be putting this coaching call out to the public, we can talk about whether this part remains in or not, but this is a coaching call. So I want to address two things: the practicality of sales, of when you get to follow up. And I want to address that what you just said, and I'm noticing you showing up. You are showing up in the flow. I was going to say consistently, but you're showing up in the flow. I see you everywhere. I am seeing your posts. Um, what I'm want to say about this is the way, folks. Do not stop believing in the power of your work just because you don't yet have the results that you want, because that's backwards. We have the honor and privilege to show up as if we already have the result, and that is how results are created. So if we let the outside circumstance dictate to us how we show up, make us feel, just because we don't have the number of clients that we want to have yet, make us feel a certain type of way about our work or our presence or the process or our mission, then we end up not doing or doing straight up. Doing is feminine. It's all feminine. We end up not engaging in the practices that are needed, and not just internal practices. I'm talking about making in the invitations, making the posts, making the sales pages, showing up and teaching, adding value to the marketplace, following up with people. We end up not doing that because every day becomes a struggle of whether we're worth it or not. And this is just the game that we are all playing again and again and again, no matter what the outside circumstance says. We can only change the outside circumstance from within. And it will require more than prayer. We want to pray. We want to keep our energy aligned. We want to do our energetic hygiene. We want to do our energetic principles. We want to write and create and sing and do all the things in our personal lives that help us feel good in our body. That is absolutely amazing. And that's not how we run a business. We also want to run a business by doing and creating and engaging with the business practices and the money making practices, the client signing on client practices, because you can have the best practices in the world and you can have the best offer in the world. But if we are not making the invitation or not following up, then we're, what do they say? We're leaving money on the table. But I say you're leaking energy. You're leaking energy, and the money is going out and it's staying on the table. They say you're leaving money on the table, but I actually say like the money's trying to get to you and then it's like going out because there's leaks and holes in your process, in your systems, that you can still create even when you're having a rough time or having to spend some or most of your time dealing with some difficult emotional things. So I've been dealing with some difficult emotional things, some trauma reemerging after coming back from being home meeting my estranged father, getting stood up by my estranged father. We're in this together, you know. There is not anybody that I work with that isn't going through it at some point in their lives. It's just we create the the flow, we honor the natural rhythms, we honor the passive, neutral, and reconciling and active forces that are all feminine, and we close the gaps from where we want to be and where we are now. And now, practically, in the online learning portal, the Conscious Creative Business School, the course called Transformational Sales Mastery exists. Transformational Sales Mastery. And I believe I forget which module it is in, but I love my online learning portal because it has a search button. In the search button, you can search for follow up. And I give you a follow-up process and a follow-up lesson that is going to change the way you think about follow-ups, but also invite you to have a system. Because if we don't know if or when we should follow up, then we're less likely to, and that's how we leave money on the table. They also say the fortune is in the follow-up. The fortune is in the follow-up because it truly, truly is. It truly is. If they've said, especially if they've said the end of the month, we do not want to wait for them to talk themselves out of it, to be in their own shit about if they, back in their own shit around if they get to invest in themselves when they were on the phone with you, when they read your content, when they experienced your launch event. They felt like the impossible was possible. They felt like they finally understood themselves and that they could make this transformation. And in the gap, when they get around people that don't get them, when they get around folks that are not coaches, when get around those people that criticize them and don't understand them, they haven't um, hired to support them, they're gonna support this crappy mindset. They're gonna subconsciously look for people who tell them they're wrong or it's not gonna work so that they can remain safe. But we are not just encouraging people to buy our programs so that we can make more money. We're encouraging people to buy our programs so that they can finally get the thing that they want to get, or be who they want to be, or have what they haven't been able to have in this life that they have already acknowledged, especially if you are following up with them, they have already acknowledged. If they said, no, I don't like you and I don't want this, then you can mark them as a no forever. But if they said, no, not right now, and it gave you a time, follow up. But also, I just have followed up in the past 7 times. Anybody who has gotten on the phone with me, I followed up 7 times with them. And everybody that I say that is like, what the hell? It only feels like more work because you feel pushy. But if you just have a system that this is just what I do, you will see that people start chiming in on the fifth time. They start chiming in on the 10th time. And when you could have supported somebody, but you didn't because you felt like following up was pushy, following up is not pushy. And I am going to really, really dive into this, I believe on day 3 of the Art of Feminine Sales. So join us or watch the replay of that. But I'm going to reveal more of what I'm talking about here. But for you, since you're already a client, go into the Art of Feminine Sales. And that's amazing. And Ingrid says, I was the master of follow up. And you know what I want to reveal is we sometimes we regress, and if it works, work it. And I would say that the one thing that I have gotten lackadaisical on is the follow-up. And so you will be seeing this launch that I am focusing on that because it works. And if people feel pushed, here's what I want to say about them feeling pushed also. and I'll deepen this on day 3 of the event. It is okay for people to feel uncomfortable in our presence. Transformation happens on the other side of uncomfortability. And what they might describe as pushed on is actually their inability to sit in the discomfort, to sit with uh, valuing their self enough to spend money on themselves, to sit with the discomfort of um, not knowing if they're actually going to get the result, but that might be less uncomfortable than sitting on the sidelines anymore. And so they get to reconcile this feeling that they have of fear coming up in the sales conversation. But the more that you know that, and this is exactly what we're going to be focusing on inside the next round of the Conscious Creative Business School, the more that you know that, the more that you can sit in your discomfort and unknowingness, um, and trusting the process. And I'm talking to myself as well, then the better equipped you are to hold space on, we just get a little cool, to hold space on a sales conversation, because you are not going to get disrupted by their discomfort by making it about you and going, oh, I'm pushing on them, I'm being too pushy. So that's that. And we are going to go on the journey of being uncomfortable, but held in a loving container, held by that inner masculine presence that we don't have to think about. It's already set. The container is set. The container is set for you. The container is set for me. The container is set by God. It's already there. And so we are just going to go into this feminine flow and work with the 3 forces of nature, of feminine nature, and come to understanding what is actually pushy. Because if somebody said, no, I can't afford it, and you offered them options about how you were able to afford it, like, I got a loan, and I tell people about how I got a loan, and I offer that. And it's not pushy, it's giving them a solution, a helpful solution. It's up to them if they don't want to take it. And sure, they might have just said that to get you off their back or to because they feel pushed on, but it's not actually truth. We're not pushing on somebody by giving them an opportunity to invest in themselves. And they should have said, no, I don't want to, versus no, I can't afford it. Right? Because I will always check somebody's I can't afford it. Because if you want to be able to afford it, there are ways, there are plenty of ways. And so I always say that. And I don't mean that, I don't mean that, but I don't mean that in any disrespect. It's actually the most respectful thing you can do to honor somebody's empowerment and ability to make what they want happen happen. And we all rubbed 2 sticks together to be able to invest in ourselves. And it wasn't easy. And it might have felt like at times like we were chasing our tail. And it gave us that, like, whoa, that ability to see that I always make my investments back when I do X, Y, and Z, when I do the real work, both inner and outer. And so, if for investments that have nothing to do with money, people always make their investment back with you. Like, they don't need to be making money to invest in their transformation. They get a result, or they get a transformation by investing in themselves and having skin in the game and being able to show up. So you all have done that. You all have rubbed 2 sticks together when it was hard, when you had to ask, when you had to make it happen, when you had to get clear with yourself of like, I cannot just let my financial life fall apart. Um, this is for my offer, but there are so many people who are not trying to do anything with finances. And they want or your people, all of your people have money. All of your people already have money and they want to invest in themselves. So have that in mind. They're not trying to, I help people create money. So sometimes people come to me and said, I haven't created it yet. What can we do about that? Well, you can go and create it. Right? And that doesn't mean you need to learn how to run a business before you invest in learning how to run a business. It means that you get a job or you ask Uncle Bob or however, we get credit cards. And this is no shame to anybody who has to go get a job. Like, let's go get jobs together so that we can invest in fun things and be in beautiful things and uh, invest in coaching. Like the detriment is not feeling like our transformations are worth investing in. And some people think like you can all you all we I want a one-on-one, one-for-one ROI. And it's like there are so many things happening in this container that are out of my control that have never been spoken about, but that the container has done its magic that have nothing to do with money. And that's gorgeous and beautiful. And just because I help you create money doesn't mean that's why I'm able to sell my programs. It's not at all. I'm able to sell my programs through what I'm going to teach you in the art of feminine sales next week. But that is all for us. I want to thank you all for being here, for sharing your voice, Adriana, and I will see you next week. If you have any questions, want to share a challenge, want my personal attention or feedback or eyes on your business, office hours is popping off. It is my absolute honor to give you a personal voice note on your personal problem in the office hours. If you don't feel like you have paid me enough to receive that level of treatment, you can always tip me. And this is not what it's all about. This is the container that I've set up. It is an absolute honor for me. But what I think happens is because my offer is so affordable, people are like, oh, well, how can I get how can I receive a personal voice note, 7 minutes, 20-minute personal voice note, um, when I've only paid $250 a month? Come on, let's use the space. I wouldn't be offering it to you if I didn't want you to use it. It benefits everyone, it benefits me. And why it's so affordable is it's not private. So that doesn't mean don't share your personal or private thoughts. It just means it's not going to be private. And if you want my to keep it private and you want like a whole hour of personal attention for you and more, then that's the mentorship level. And I have upgrades and I have full mentorships where we meet weekly. But yeah, just reach out if that interests you. But you get the personal support in office hours, but you have to ask for it. Okay, everybody, I'm going to bid you adieu and say aloha. Bye bye.